So Tom would always come to Poetic License, and I would always go to his community poetry at half-price books. And he would set things up on the table at community poetry. He wouldn't do this at Poetic License, but he would have all of these glasses, different colors, and I'd be like, let me try this one on. So there were shots of me with like a bazillion glasses, which I think is the funniest thing. So I guess in homage to him, or my husband, because these are not my glasses. It was the only way I could pull this off. I thought I would share with you some poems from every event of the year. Last year in 2019, I opted to write a poem a day, New Year's resolution in 2019. So I was like, I need an excuse to write something. And I was like, why don't I just see what kind of crazy holidays are going on? Hey, it's National Sword Swallowing Day. I'll write a poem about that. So I started filling it with that, and I started doing so many that it was suggested to me to make 2 volumes for book release. This is volume 1, and hopefully by the second half of this year, volume 2 will exist as well, which will be bigger than this one, approaching 300 pages of all mostly new stuff. So I thought I would take a couple readings here for you and do poetry from March and April, I think. I think that would be a cool thing to do for you. And in the table of contents, it says the days for things. I know the first one I was going to read was for March 20th, World Storytelling Day, storytelling. And then I believe I was going to try Manatee Appreciation Day, which is the last Wednesday of March with Under the Sea. I might do National Anything on a Stick Day on March 28th, which is Poetry on a Stick. And also on March 28th, it was Discovery of the Asteroid Palace, which is unlocking history 1 asteroid at a time. I'm going to read you the March ones in this reading, and then maybe I'll read the April ones to you as well, if we've got the time. So enjoy these March poems from every event of the year, Volume 1, January through June, through Scarce Publications. This first one for Storytelling Day is called Storytelling. You see, my mom, 11 years ago, had breast cancer. And the 3 girls flew to visit her at her home across the country. And Mom felt bad that she couldn't make our trip better because she just found out that she had cervical cancer too. But we couldn't have come at a better time, and she had procedures, and she had surgeries, and she had radical hysterectomy, and then the cancer was gone. She was in the clear. So for a decade, she went to the doctor, and they found no cancer in her. And all seemed well. She had beaten a killer. When I was almost killed in a car accident, I had a head trauma and no fractured bones except for my skull. They never told me, just my family, but not me, the patient, that I'm expected to have a seizure within 6 months of my accident. I had a grand mal seizure 7 months after I was almost killed. No one explained to me what was happening, and I had to figure it out as I went along. Well, a decade after her bouts with cancer, she went to the doctor again. Had a fever, felt tired, and they said, well, it's funny, you've got all the symptoms, and most women who have had as much cancer in their history as you've had, well, you're likely to get leukemia. Well, she did. And when she found out at her home in Southwest Florida, she traveled to the University of Chicago Hospital. They're a good hospital, you know. And she got prepped for chemo. Was in the hospital shorter than me. Damn, I shouldn't be so self-centered that way. And she had chemo, lost her hair, and with a new crew cut. When her hair grew back, she started to look like her brother, Uncle Pete, from his army photos. And the doctor said that she was in remission. Now, this leukemia is a tricky thing. Cancer of the blood versus cancer of an organ. It was easier when you could just remove an organ and leave it at that. But this was cancer in her blood. And the cancer crept into her bone marrow. And they had to periodically drill into her hip bone for a bone marrow biopsy to see if there was any cancer in her bone marrow. Fun job, drilling into her hip bone. You wonder why there are so many hip replacement surgeries now. Well, look at how doctors test now. A little bone pulling here, a little bone pull there. Well, anyway, the doctor said that she was in remission. Happy, happy, joy, joy. But because the cancer of the blood thing was tricky, they were going to give her another round of chemo just to be on the safe side. Because, you know, if people don't get through this extra round of chemo, the leukemia is more likely to actually come back. So Mom took the chemo and she recovered at my sister's house until she was well enough to go back home and recoup in her own home. I visited her in her recoup time, just shy of my parents' 56th wedding anniversary. Bought the cologne Dad would give Mom for their anniversary while I was visiting. She hoped that when her hair grew back, after this chemo, it would grow back curly. And it was. And she was so used to having a hairdresser style her hair into a beehive, and she'd have to sleep on her nose to keep her hairstyle in place until her next hairdresser appointment. So her hair was curling now, and she bought a curling hair gel, and she wore a little white hat, and she could always pull off looking good in hats. And the curled ends of her hair, new short hair, was around her little cap. She looked so cute. Mom would work in the mornings, run errands, get groceries, but by lunchtime she would feel tired, so she'd watch her soap operas. But who can blame her? She was still in recovery from all that chemo hell that she just went through. And all her neighbors said, it's amazing how well she's doing after all she's gone through. And they were right. A month after I left from visiting, Mom started to feel tired, feverish, so Dad took her to the doctor, and they said, silly us, she wasn't in remission. They wanted to put her in hospice care immediately, but she looked at Dad, and they both instantly agreed that they weren't giving up that easily, so back to the University of Chicago hospitals. More chemo for Mom, a different chemo this time, so she wouldn't lose her hair. But after she went through this chemo again, they found no change in her condition. And then they said, you've got two choices. Because you're immune to chemo now, you can go for further experimental treatments, or you can decide to stop treatment. And she said, I don't want hospitals anymore. So she made her choice. And the doctor said that she had 2 to 6 months to live, maybe as long as a year. And I said to her that as she was getting platelets at the hospital, well, your father had cancer. Doctors gave him 6 months to live. How long did he live? And she said, 6 years. So this was something she could beat. We Bakutas come from a strong stock. We can do anything. I know we can. Well, I don't think she wanted to fight. I think the pain in her bones was too strong. And I think she was tired of fighting a battle she couldn't win. So she let it take over. They said 2 to 6 months. She lived just shy of 3. She struggled through it all, not telling us about her pain, just taking her medicine, so to speak, and hoping everything would just kill her and get it over with. And I think emotionally, she made the choice despite us. And now I write this story, and my father is sleeping in front of the TV in his lounge chair next to me. He says it's more comfortable there to fall asleep. And I'm listening to his breathing while he sleeps, and I hear him panting every 30 seconds while he sleeps, like he's having nightmares about it all still. And as I tell the story, there's still a panic in the air, even while he sleeps. That was a tough one to go through. And on that note, I should read for Manatee Appreciation Day. This is actually not a poem I wrote in 2019, but the first poem I ever wrote. And it is called Under the Sea. I'd like to be under the sea to watch the fish go swim. I'd like to squish a jellyfish and then let go of him. I'd like to grab a soft-shelled crab and take him for a walk. I'd like to hurtle over a turtle and teach dolphins to talk. I'd like to see a manatee and then go play by him. I'd like to do all of these things. If only I could swim. Oh, that one's fun. And in that light of fun stuff, I'm going to read one for National Anything on a Stick Day. Did you know that was actually a thing? Anything on a Stick Day. So, I've got a poem for you called Poetry on a Stick. And I should show you. I have no idea if cameras can see this, but I had an Instagram image of me with poem lines. I have no idea how that's looking in a camera. Can I see? Doom. And it's an Instagram and Tumblr and Twitter and Facebook image of me with poetry words hanging off of a stick back in front of a bamboo forest. Bamboo forest. I don't have a bamboo forest anymore, but it was cool to have poetry on a stick. This poem is called Poetry on a Stick. I've always said that everything is better when it's on a stick. I mean, kids love ice cream bars on sticks at carnivals. The Republican Party even reveled in serving up during their Iowa caucuses deep-fried sticks of butter on a stick, which supports my theory that everything really is better on a stick. And sure, you can put every food imaginable on a stick, and toys made on sticks or from sticks have been around forever. So why not poetry on a stick? I mean, you can find companies online like mad selling single phrases that they call poetry on a stick. But get more creative. Cut lines of poetry onto one long strand of paper and tape it to the end of a stick. Wave it around like you're doing an Olympic routine. Or etch poetry on sticks and leave them for others to find. Because if everything is better on a stick, it's time poetry proved that all of that is true. One more for you from March, because it's the beginning of April, why not, right? This poem was for the discovery of the asteroid Pallas, and it is called Unlocking History One Asteroid at a Time. People who love the night sky also have a special love affair with anything not from this planet. I even display a few catalog asteroids in clear display boxes because they are what we choose to call precious stones, because they are. They unlock Earth's and the solar system's history. Looking back, astronauts believe that It is a massive asteroid that collided with the Earth so many years ago, creating a giant mass, most giant crater in the ground and scattering debris throughout all of the atmosphere, which killed off the dinosaurs and left a thin layer of iridium all over Earth. And on this day, over 200 years ago, German astronomers Heinrich Wilhelm Matthieu Olbers discovered and named the second asteroid ever found, Pallas, Pallas. And back in 1802, they didn't even know what asteroids were, so it was counted as a planet, just like the other asteroid found in the early 19th century. So back in the day, Pallas had a minor planet designation, but if you call it to Pallas, you know that this second asteroid he discovered after Ceres in the solar system is one of the largest asteroids. And yeah, 5 years later he discovered asteroid Vesta, which is even larger than Pallas. But since back then the word asteroid didn't exist, these minor planets were called planets. But back then, it was double plus cool when Olbers actually imagined the asteroid belt as a magical place all of these objects orbit. So, after all this time, it's fitting that I keep these little shards of rocks well cased and on display, because asteroids explain history. They reveal more than just this world. March Poetry from Every Event of the Year, Volume 1, January through June. Thank you for the listen. I think I'm looking forward to sharing with you some poetry from April very soon.